My wife and I had been married for 7 years before I found out she was cheating on me. Before I married Mia, I had always known her to be a go-getter, coal smasher, and career woman. Even before she got the job at the organization she worked for, she always talked about making an impact in the world with her business ideas, dedication, and commitment. So I was not surprised when she told me she had gotten the job at such a world-class organization. I, on the other hand, was not as work-driven as Mia. I just wanted to make enough money to take care of my family, do the things I liked, and we could travel whenever we wanted to. Since we dated for about a year, and we got married after that, I discussed children with Mia, and we agreed to have children whenever we were ready. After 4 years of being married to each other, we had our daughter, and because there were complications with her pregnancy and childbirth, Mia and I agreed that one child was okay. After years of working as a data analyst for my organization, I got promoted. This promotion allowed me to work from home and spend more time with our young daughter, Hillary, and always be there for her. Over the years, Mia also got promoted, and her promotion came with a greater workload. She had to be out of the house as early as 7:30 p.m. every morning to beat traffic, and she would return as late as 9 p.m. And every time I complained, she'd say she had many meetings to attend, so I'd let it slide. As if that was not enough, Mia barely spent time with us during weekends. She'd always have a meeting or two to attend, and since I already knew how passionate she was about her profession right from our dating days, I could not ask her to stop or even cut down on it. I didn't want to be the husband who would ask his wife to stop chasing her dreams or give less to her profession because she was married to me. So I tried to be supportive in every form I could. With all that happened, I became responsible for our daughter, Hillary, and I was with her when she woke up and was there to put her to bed. I cooked, cleaned, and did the laundry and everything Mia should have done at home. I also loved that I spent a lot of time with her because when I was young, my father was barely around to spend time with siblings and me, so I wanted to be different. Hillary and I bonded so well that even when Mia was home, she preferred to come to me for whatever she needed, and Mia didn't even mind. One Saturday afternoon, I was at home working when one of my friends called me. At first, he asked for Mia, and I told him she had stepped out an hour earlier for a business meeting, but he laughed. He said he was at a restaurant and had seen Mia and a man cuddling and feeding each other. I didn't believe him because I thought he was playing pranks on me, but he insisted he could send me proof. Shortly after we ended the call, he sent pictures to my WhatsApp, and I got the notification. When I opened them, I saw Mia and her boss cuddled together as he had described, and from the smiles on their faces, it was evident that they were having a great time with each other. He even made a small video that captured when Mia's boss kissed Mia on the lips, and they giggled afterward. I was speechless. I went through the pictures several times to be sure my eyes were not messing with me, and they weren't. It was really Mia in the photos. It was the same blue gown she wore, and I recognized her boss the moment I saw him. As I was still staring at my phone, my friend called back, and he asked what I would do. I told him nothing, but before he ended the call, he warned me to not do anything stupid. I cried that afternoon because of the pain of betrayal, and it was almost like 100 bee stings. I loved Mia so much, and I could not believe she could do such a thing to me. While I was in my miserable state, an idea came to me, and I called one of her office guys and asked if I could get a projector screen for a special surprise I had for her on our anniversary, and he said yes. When Mia returned home later that evening, she noticed my countenance had changed, but I told her I was feeling sick in my tummy, and she believed me. The following Monday was meant to be our anniversary, and I had already made plans for us. But after I saw the pictures, I called and canceled all of my bookings and reservations. I'm sure Mia didn't even remember it was our anniversary because she left to work excitedly and didn't mention anything about it. I allowed her to get to her office and settle first, then approximately 2 hours later, I went there. As soon as I got there, it was announced on the speaker that her husband had something special for her, and I asked everyone's attention to be on the projector screen. When she heard that, she walked up to me, kissed me, and held my hands in excitement to show off while her eyes were fixed on the screen. Immediately, the first video of her kissing her boss began to play. She froze and could not even look me in the eye. Then a slideshow of all the pictures followed the video. Everyone gasped in shock, and she ran out of there horrified. The moment she stepped out, I followed her too because I wasn't ready for the gossip. I went home before her, but she showed up hours later in tears. Her hair was messy, and her dissolved mascara made her look horrible. When she entered the house, she tried to beg me, but I asked her to pick up her bags in the living room and go. Instead, she went on her knees and started to beg, and that's when I yelled at her and pushed her out of the house. I was smart enough to take Hillary to my sister's house because I didn't want her to witness such terrible scenes. We divorced after that, and her boss also resigned from the organization, but his wife divorced him too when she heard and saw the videos. I thought Mia would end up with her boss, but she didn't. He wanted nothing to do with her and blamed her for tearing his family apart. After our divorce, she showed up twice, looking homeless and miserable, but I threatened to call the police on her if she showed up again, and she never did. I don't think she ever loved me because she would not have hurt me that way if she did. OP, I'm sorry you had to go through all this. I also think you're right because people who love their spouses would never cheat on them or hurt them. Sadly, you did everything possible to support her dreams and profession, but she didn't appreciate that. This might sound tough, but it's a good thing you found out early. I can't imagine all the things that could go wrong if you didn't find out when you did. And I'm happy you played her back. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I wish you all the best. Now let's get into our second story for today. My ex-wife Scarlett decided to betray my trust and destroy everything we had in the most embarrassing way. Scarlett and I had been friends in college before we began dating. I finished college a year before her, and I started working at my father's company immediately after. Before Scarlett and I dated, she used to be the kind of girl that always wanted the attention of different men, and that was like a red flag for me, but I didn't pay much attention to that. Then I got to know her better, and I found out that she acted that way because she was the only child of her parents, but she lost them at the age of 4. And because of that tragic incident, she had to be raised by her grandmother who showered her with a lot of love and attention. When we became close friends, I explained to her the kind of wrong signals she was giving out to the other guys, and she stopped her whole attention thing. The truth is, I loved Scarlett so much, and I was willing to be patient with her until she changed. She changed, reduced how she hummed around men, and started spending time with only her friends. So when I asked her to officially be my girlfriend, she said yes, and that moment was the beginning of our love story. Initially, my plan for us was to get married after dating for a year or two, but because of Scarlett's attention issues, we broke up a couple of times and came back together, and each time we made up and came back together, she would apologize for acting that way, and because of how I felt about her, I always forgave her. After dating for 4 years, we got married. It was one of the happiest days of my life because I believed I was fulfilling my dream of getting married to Scarlett. After the wedding, we rented a bigger and fancier apartment with the money gift my father gave to us, and we moved into a new neighborhood. This neighborhood was almost 5 times better than my previous one, and Scarlett loved everything about it. The neighbors were friendly, and the people who weren't too busy with work and life talked to me occasionally. About 2 months later, we discovered Scarlett was pregnant, and I was very excited about it. I wanted to be a father before I clocked 30, especially since my dad kept telling me he had me at 21. With the news of Scarlett's pregnancy, I asked her to stop working, and I took care of whatever she wanted. I did this because it was her first pregnancy, and I heard stories of how uncomfortable first pregnancies could be, so I didn't want to stress herself in any way. Her pregnancy hormones had the best of her, too, and I wanted her to always be in a place she was comfortable. In the following months, we shopped for baby stuff together. The scan results said it was going to be a boy, so we got things for a baby boy. It was exciting for me, and I was excited about our son. Whenever it was time for Scarlett's checkup, I made sure that I canceled everything I was doing, and we'd go there together. Within the first 6 months, our son's nursery was already set up. We hired a well-recommended handyman who came in to build the nursery until everything was ready. Particularly about the nursery, I didn't want to wait a month or two before we fixed it. I wanted everything to be perfect for our son. When Scarlett got into her second trimester, I asked her to stop cooking and did the cooking myself. Well, I won't really say I cooked much because most of her weird cravings were something I could not prepare. So I bought most of her food combinations from restaurants while I made mine. Also, at least every month, I made it my responsibility to buy something fancy for Scarlett. I saw how fast her body was changing, the stretch marks, and the additional weight she got, and I understood that she was sacrificing our body to bear our son, which meant a lot to me. She loved the gifts, and most of them had nothing to do with size. Instead, it was majorly stuff like jewelry, tickets to shows, the cooking wares she always wanted, and other things she appreciated. But despite giving all of this to her, I still had the perfect push gift for her, which was going to be a car. My dad loaned me some money to get her dream car for her, and I wanted to surprise her with it after we returned home with our son, who we wanted to name Stanley. Finally, the week she was meant to give birth came, and we went to the hospital a day before. On that day, I was swamped because I had to go back and forth to get everything she needed. I had already been at the hospital, so I told Scarlett I would return home to shower. After showering and resting for an hour or two, I decided it was time to return to the hospital because I didn't want to miss my first child's birth. As I was about to go into my car, I bumped into one of my neighbors and told him I was going to see Scarlett at the hospital. When I said so, he looked bothered about something, and I asked him what was wrong. He struggled a bit before he told me he had seen the same handyman I hired for Stanley's nursery go in and come out of the house the previous month in his Ring camera, so I asked to see the videos. I was very confused because we had not called for anything, and Scarlett had never mentioned anything about him coming to the house. When my neighbor showed me the videos, I was dumbfounded, and I felt my heart constrict when I saw pictures of Scarlett kissing the handyman on our front porch, and I could not believe it. I asked my neighbor's permission to take the video to the hospital, and he allowed me. I was so mad at Scarlett, and I began to yell at her as soon as I stepped into the room. There was a nurse in there with her trying to change her for, but I did not mind. I was so angry that I called her names, and when I asked her about the handyman, she denied having any to do with him. But when I showed her the videos, she admitted that it was a one-time thing, but I didn't believe her. The people in the video did not look like it was their first time. When she knew that I didn't believe her, she began to cry, but I didn't care. My voice was thunderous, and other patients were starting to come around. She was so embarrassed, and could not even look up at me or anyone in the room. At the same time, I ordered a DNA test, and the nurse had to call the main doctor. The doctor tried to call me, but it didn't change how people looked at my wife with shame. The doctor followed the DNA procedures, and the test result was out hours later. I was the father of my baby. Finally, she gave birth, but went to her grandmother's house after delivery instead. She cried throughout the recovery from her C-section, but I didn't care anymore. We divorced as soon as I found out she was cheating on me, and later on left her at her grandmother's house, and she had postpartum depression. My son is 3 years old now, and he's a healthy big boy. I love him more than I love myself, and would do anything for him. Scarlett still looks miserable whenever I see her, but no matter how she tries to beg, no amount of words can make me forgive her. Opie, from your story, I can tell that you were a good husband, and you loved your wife so much, but she took that for granted. It's good that you didn't listen to her cries of pretense. She would have kept hurting you. I hope you will find someone trustworthy and loyal. I know she spoiled all of your dreams of raising your son together, and it might be hard to forget her now, but you will soon. Take this time to heal from this situation and focus on self-love. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation,